And I watched what he was saying and what the horrible things he was saying. And I said, he's a dumb guy. I said, wait a minute, he's a Democrat. That's how I got the name. You take the E out. You don't use the B. A lot of people don't know dumb has a B in it, actually. You don't need it. You discard the B. But you take the E out and you replace it with a U. They're dumb. They are Democrats. You know why? Because their policies are dumb. Their policies are very dumb. All of that policies.
Donald Trump on the campaign trail. Yes, please. Can I have some more?
Damn! So you got Fox polls that are showing disaster for Trump, and then you get Jessica Tarlov on air doing what she does best. That's right, the president cannot escape bad news on Fox in their polls or on their airwaves. Starting with Fox News at 5 as Liberal voice Jessica Tarlov weighed in on the president suddenly gone back on the campaign trail recently and how that's basically a Democrat's dream as it forces him to answer to all the damage that he's inflicted across the country. To speak on why he doesn't consider their financial situation when waging wars.
Donald Trump on the campaign trail. Yes, please. Can I have some more? Today, telling people you have more money in your pockets when nobody thinks that, except the richest Americans at this point. The weird stuff again about the cognitive tests and how he's acing things that they give to people who've had traumatic brain injuries. No one knows there's a B in the word dumb. We all know there's a B in the word dumb, and he is cratering support with core constituencies. In the Fox poll, amongst Republicans, non-MAGA GOP, white voters, rural Americans, approval in the mid-30s, 71 disapprove of the economy. He's minus 52 on handling inflation. And guess what? There are no legislative accomplishments for the Republicans. Josh Hawley's admitted it. There's a big Politico piece about this. I love this from a GOP Senate aide. The so-called victories, that's what I'm talking about, this, getting Thomas Massie out over the last couple of weeks are just a mirage. They're self-owns. Gas is up 45% due to the president's decisions to go to war with Iran. And he's focused on the ballroom and his slush fund. They couldn't do the reconciliation bill because he's like, oh, there are very fine people came in on January 6th and they deserve compensation. Tina Peters, can please make her the spokesperson.
Really? About to jump out of his There's another word with a B that I would like to add to that, and it's in the front. Listen, I did the math. I'm talking about the Democratic Party. They spent $10 million on.
And Donald Trump has a problem that he cannot easily dismiss, as the New Republic put it. The network as a whole can't help but admit that Trump's presidency is in freefall. The piece in the New Republic argues that a threshold has been crossed, with Trump shrinking his MAGA base down to what it calls its, quote, molten core. And this is coming after a Fox News poll found that Trump's economic approval fell to 29%. Fox, right? Well, 68% disapprove of his handling of the economy. Fox also found that 58% of voters say the cost of living is their top economic worry, up from 50% in February. More than 3/4 of voters, 77%, say the economy is in bad shape, while only 23% rate it positively.
Back home, the average price of gas is now above $4 in every single state. And just 5 months ahead of the midterms, new Fox polling shows 58% of respondents say the cost of living is their top economic worry. That's up 8 points from February. And 71% disapprove of the president's performance on the economy.
You mentioned the Republican base in your intro, and then obviously there's the Democratic opposition. But what about those who didn't cast a ballot at all in 2024? Those who didn't show up to vote? Well, they have become absolutely perturbed. I dare say they are pissed off at the president of the United States. Voters who didn't cast a ballot in 2024. Trump's net approval rating. Back in November of 2024, just after the election, look at his net approval rating. It was plus 4 points for his plans in office. But look at that. It is fallen. Yeah. Whoo. There you go, Sarah Seidner. That's the only sound you can make. It has fallen through the floor. Look at this. Minus 50 points on Trump's net approval rating among voters who did not, in fact, cast a ballot in 2024. That is, you don't have to be a mathematical genius, an over 50-point move against the president of the United States among those who are kind of like, meh, in terms of voting in 2024. But now they are pissed off.
It's catastrophic, right? Because this isn't CNN or some liberal think tank. It's Fox News. And his entire political brand has always rested on one disputable claim that he knows business. And Fox's own polling is saying that voters look at Trump's economy and think, no, you don't, mate, not really. And the issue is affordability, which Trump thinks Democrats just made up. But again, this is the man who thought that most people don't know that there's a B in dumb. Yes, really, he said it.
And they only used the first question. They didn't go into the other questions. They didn't go in. But toward the end, like they had a question like, pick a number, sir, any number. Okay, 203. Multiply times 9. Divide by 2. Add on 1,324, subtract 1,292. Sir, multiply it out one more time by 19. What is the answer, sir? And I got it right. You know?
Fox pollsters found that the cost of living is voters' top economic concern, far ahead of government spending, jobs, or tariffs. And then there is, of course, the war in Iran that seems to be flip-flopping between escalation and negotiation every other day. The Iran war is not separate from affordability, as we know. It's part of it. And Fox's polling found that the economic pain is deepening at the same time voters are souring even more so on the US's involvement in Iran, which doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. And it's not just Fox, right? Gallup found that Americans' confidence in the economy has fallen to its lowest level in nearly 4 years, with only 16% rating the economy as excellent or good and 49% calling it poor. Gallup's economic confidence index dropped to minus 45, its lowest level since 2022.
It's fascinating because you have these two dynamics. You have sort of the non-hardcore Republican world, and we're seeing people like Cassidy losing. Cornyn's probably going to lose. This is triumphed as, the power that Trump has over the party. And when Lindsey Graham went out this weekend and said Donald Trump is the Republican Party. Well, I wrote a book called It Was All a Lie, How the Republican Party Became Donald Trump. It is Donald Trump. There is no anti-Trump party. But you have the rest of the world. And you look at these numbers, and it's just as clear as can be. He's losing on every issue. And at a certain point in politics, you need to be for something that people like. And he's just not. And the classic way to correct here is that standard play. You go, we've made mistakes, but we've listened, and we're going to change. And Americans are predisposed to give people a second chance. But you kind of have to show that you're trying. You kind of have to go to Betty Ford to say, okay, I'm going to quit. You can't just stay at the bar and say, I'm going to quit. And Trump's incapable of doing that. And
if you look at other outlets like Reuters, they reported that the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index fell to 44.8 in May, a record low as rising living costs and gas prices weighed on the households that were involved in the poll. And that's not just one bad poll, right? We're looking at several across the board. And while Americans are struggling, clearly, well, Republicans are fighting with each other over Trump's $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund, as he calls it.
But wouldn't the average taxpayer respond and say, okay, but why is that now my problem? Why do my tax dollars now need to go to people who are upset about their involvement in investigations?
Well, if you're just upset, you're not getting it done. On the other hand, I think if you said to the American taxpayer that there is a horrible wrong committed by your government, and now you can apply and you can have your lawyer's fees back, you can be compensated for what you lost financially, what American would say, oh my gosh, that's terrible? I mean, I very much disagree with the idea that the American taxpayer is indignant about the fact that a victim of weaponization, okay, a victim who suffered, whether it was legal fees, lost a job, had their life turned upside down in a way that was not appropriate. If it was appropriate, there should be no compensation. And that's why we have 5 commissioners who will take a look at it. But I do not think the American people have issues with that. To the contrary, I think they do want their tax dollars spent on things like that.
They're not arguing over how to make groceries more affordable or bring down the price of gas or, make healthcare cheaper, but whether or not Trump should have almost $2 billion in a slush fund that could give January 6 insurrectionists a nice little retirement fund for, wiping shite over the walls in the Capitol.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.